safe sun exposure. So, going back to the very beginning of the talk, we talked about consistent, moderate, safe sun exposure, the best thing you can do. How do you get that? Point number one, there are a couple spelling mistakes in yours. It says, follow these rules to endure safety. That should be ensure, okay? So it's good to start early in the year. Early in the year means spring, like right now, right? Do it early in the spring. This will prepare your skin for stronger sunlight later in the year. So here's what happens. This is why our seasons change, right? People go, well, we're closer to the sun. We're not closer to the sun. The earth is just, there's a wobble in our spin, right? And every year we wobbles us a little bit closer, so it tilts the northern part a little bit closer to the sun, right? And so what we're getting is more direct sunlight. All the ozone and everything, the further you are away, sunlight comes and it bounces actually off our ozone, okay? And so you're not getting that vitamin D, bounce off the earth, bounce off the ozone, etc. So the more direct light you're getting, the more intense it's going to be, okay? So sunlight in July is a lot stronger than sunlight in, May, right? Sunlight in Jamaica, which is closer to the equator, even on a cloudy day, was certainly a lot stronger than what we had here. And my skin hadn't seen anything, right, for like 4 months because we live here, okay? Early morning is good to start off with. So if you have sensitive skin, do not do the 10 to 2. The same reason the seasons change. The sun is higher up, it's more direct. If you want to start getting your skin ready, go for a walk at 8 or 9. Go for a walk at 5 to 6. And then you can start moving it closer and closer and closer to that 10 to 2 range. That's when the sun is most powerful. Regular sunbathing is extremely important. Again, you can't cram everything. It's not good. You're better off 10 minutes a day than you are, again, 60 minutes all at once. Like that slow consistency is key, okay? The darker your skin, whether because of genetics or tanning, the more pigment, the more natural pigment or melanin that you've got in your skin, the less sensitive you are, the more you're going to have to be out there. So in the summer, again, it works kind of nice because it's more direct. You don't have to be out near as long. But then come August, once you start to tilt back, or September, right? So June 21st, that's when the sun is most direct. So after that, things are moving the other way. It gets warmer still, just because the heating it doesn't catch up with sunlight right away, right? And then December 21st is the shortest day of the year. You can stand outside of your roof buck naked all day in December. Nothing's happening except you get arrested. Okay? Doesn't matter. Sunlight is strongest at the equator. Again, the further away you go, closer to the Arctic circles, okay, the weaker it gets. UV radiation is more intense at higher altitudes. Why is it more intense at higher altitudes? Thinner air, right? The further down you go, the more all that UV gets absorbed or scattered, right? So the higher up you go, so when you're skiing, it's easier to burn when you're skiing, even though it is December, and I grew up skiing, and that's very, very, very true. Plus, when you're on the lake, when you're hiking, when you're skiing in the snow, what are you getting? Reflection, right? So you're getting and that's one of the things with cloud, is that when cloud, like I can sit in the shade in Jamaica and I can block myself, but then when there's cloud, you're getting like there's no shade. Does that make sense? So you're actually getting direct sunlight is different, but in the shade it's you're blocking a lot, but when it's cloudy, you're actually getting from all angles because it's been scattered. Kind of interesting. Okay? I'll never make that mistake again. Surface reflection we talked about. Time of day we talked about. Time of year, obviously. We talked about that. Okay? So again, start now. Get outside every day. You don't have to have your whole body exposed. Research shows that about 20 minutes with arms and legs and face exposed is enough to produce, what did we talk about? How much did I say? 10,000 to 20,000 units a day. Now, dangers of sunscreen. Believe it or not, avoid sunscreen, at least most of them. There's a far better way. Like in Jamaica, covering up would be the best thing. Not a lot of fun, right? So sunscreen is okay to use if you know that you're going to get burned. But I would say is covering up is even better. So when you know you've had enough sun, cover up. If you're not going to do that, don't burn, put sunscreen on. But it's interesting. So again, wearing sunscreen will block your vitamin D production. Sunscreen also contains toxic chemicals that can cause health problems and increase the risk of disease. Especially if you're dumb like me and got burnt and then put sunscreen on, guess what? It's even worse, right? Listen to this. The main chemical in sunscreen that filters UV light is called, I always struggle with this word, octylmethoxycinnamate, I nailed it that time, was found to kill mice cells even at low doses. Okay, so it's toxic to cells. Here's what's interesting, it becomes even more toxic when it's exposed to light. Right, that's in our sunscreen. So you're rubbing that on your skin. Right? Good old, this is an old like saying, right? If you don't want it in your mouth, if you wouldn't need it, don't put it on your skin. Okay, because it's absorbing. Titanium dioxide, this is used in sunscreen because its ability to reflect and scatter UV light. Has also been labeled a potent occupational carcinogen by the U.S. government's National Institute for Occupational Health and Safety. Several studies have confirmed that the chemicals commonly used in sunscreen are absorbed through the skin and end up circulating into your blood. Right? We know that things like Alzheimer's disease, we're finding chemicals in that are getting stored up in the brain. Right? You just don't want to mess with that sort of stuff. Okay? And again, once in a while, we're okay, but there are people that, you know, it's slathered up on their kids every day. There are some safer kinds out there, like there's some the zinc oxide-based sunscreens that are probably a little bit better for you. Again, I wouldn't need zinc oxide, I suppose, so, you know, a t-shirt is better than sunscreen, or swim shirt. Get a UV shirt for your kids, or yourself. When we were down in Jamaica, my colleague is, I mean, he's like a true Minnesotan, he's super pale and white, but he wore a, he got lots of sun, but he also wore a swim shirt that was UV protected, and that was a pretty smart thing. So it's about being smart with that. What about tanning beds? They do use they will use vitamin D rays, or they will use UV rays that produce vitamin D, and some experts even say that this is a good way to get vitamin D in the winter. Because the sad part is that we may catch up to appropriate vitamin D levels in the summer, but then what? Guess what? Right? It lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. The half-time of vitamin D is about 2 to 3 weeks, and so it can get stored in fat, and you can release some of that throughout the year, but we're just deficient in the winter. So the problem with this is like there's research, I mean, you guys have all heard the research on tanning beds, but let me go through this with you. 19 studies show that anyone who has used a tanning bed was 15% more prone to developing melanoma, and if you use it before 35, it was 75%. So it's not good for your body. But what they found is that the likely reason is not the UV, it's actually how the machine produces UV. When you lay in that bed, there is a huge electromagnetic frequency that it's like, which happens with current, anytime you use a lot of electricity. So there's electric ballast or magnetic ballast. The lights that they typically used were magnetic ballast, and that produced tons of electromagnetic frequency, which is like you're being exposed to like microwaves, okay, whatever, right? Electronic ballasts work a little bit differently, and they've been shown to be a little bit safer. There are some experts out there that actually use they use electronic ballast, and they do use that as a way to get moderate, consistent, safe sun exposure even in the winter. Makes sense? You will wrinkle. It does cause wrinkly skin, but I'd rather be wrinkly than dead.
Yeah.
Although sunbathing is, again, by far the best way to get vitamin D in the winter months in Minnesota, so for us, it's not realistic. I'm always the guy who would say, do the natural thing first. Like, the word supplement means to add on, right? It should be in addition to. So you don't want that to be your first line. It's not nearly as effective to take it orally. Foods, there's very few foods that you would ever eat that have vitamin D in it. Like it's just not produced in food, okay? And like milk, well, vitamin D comes in milk. No, it doesn't. The reason vitamin D is in milk is because when milk is exposed to UV, it produces vitamin D2, which is not even vitamin D3, which is actually what you have. And I think they first discovered that when they were using it, like it's a natural byproduct when they radiate it to kill pathogens in, like the viruses, bacteria, whatever that are in the milk, and they discovered that it produced vitamin D2, so then they decided to put it on the label of milk and sell it as like it's even healthier now. But it's not, it's not something that naturally occurs, okay? Here's if you can get down a couple times a year to, Florida and Arizona and that sort of stuff, that's a good thing. Supplementation in the winter is probably a good thing. Supplementation, so can you overdose from vitamin D by getting sun?
No,
right? No, because there's feedback loops that will run that rapidly. Can you overdose from vitamin D by taking it orally?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, for most people, this is like you're worrying about drowning from drinking too much water as you're walking through the Sahara Desert, right? We're so deficient, we don't have to worry about this a lot, but you can overdose. So here's what I'm telling you. I supplement with vitamin D, but the only way to know where you're at is to get a blood level tested, and I will tell you to have it retest. When you go to your doctors and get your test done, ask them for your vitamin D levels, and test it regularly and see where you're at. And if it's deficient, you need more vitamin D. Right? How much vitamin D should be taken? I don't know. It depends on how deficient you are. Okay? Vitamin D comes in two forms. Vitamin D2, you can buy vitamin D2, you can buy vitamin D3. Your body produces vitamin D3. It still needs to be converted, but vitamin D3 is much easier to convert. You'll need a lot less of it to convert than vitamin D2. So you want to do vitamin D3. Okay? Don't buy vitamin D2. What do we need to go over here? Natural sources of vitamin D3, such as cod liver oil, have been shown to be 4 times as effective as vitamin D2. So if you take cod liver oil, you're getting small amounts of vitamin D in there. Okay, not as much as you need, but it's in there. So here's the current recommended daily allowance from the government, which this is like by saying, if you trust your health to the government, you get what's coming. You deserve what's coming to you, right? They're certainly not experts. Between 19 and 50 years of age, recommended is about 200 units of vitamin D a day. 51 to 70, 400, over 70, 600. This is enough to not die. Your body will go through approximately 4,000 units of vitamin D every single day. So logically, if you're not producing any, right, I take 4,000 to 5,000 units in the winter every day. Okay, sometimes more if I'm feeling a little run down. So even 2,000 units, I have a lot of patients that their doctor told me on 2,000. Well, that's a lot better, but that's still like not enough. Okay, research suggests that 4,000 to 8,000 units a day is more reasonable. And I would tell you that, do I have my chart here? So here's the numbers: 40 to 55 nanograms per milliliter is where you want to be. And what you're getting tested for is 25-hydroxy-D. There are 4 different markers that you can look at for vitamin D. 25-hydroxy-D is what you want to be tested for. There are other ones that you can get. This is the one that you want to know. If you are less than this, you need to not even just take 4 or 5. You need to take 8,000 units a day and then remeasure and see where you're at. And once you get to a good range, then you want to kind of balance that out. Does that make sense to you guys? The only way to know for sure is to get your blood levels checked. So if you ask your doctor, how much should I take? I have no flipping clue. We don't know what's perfect for you. The best way is to, Ben, can you deal with that?
He's sorry.
Yeah.
He's out. He's gone. But no, is that, like, if you went to your doctor and said, okay, I need a test for 25-OHD?
Yeah. 25-hydroxy-D. Vitamin D levels check, 25-hydroxy-D, that's what you want to know.
And what are they going to say, why do you want to know that?
Because it's my body and you're my doctor.
Okay.
I work for you, you work for me, not the other way around.
Well, yeah.
You're in charge of your health. I have so many people that come in and out, so like my doctor, I don't want to be on this, but my doctor put me on this blood pressure medication. I'm like, who's responsible for your health? That's a question for everyone. Who's responsible for your health?
Yeah.
Start acting like you're in charge. Like, it amazes me how many people have totally relegated that over to a doctor, including people like me. I am not responsible for your health. Your medical laws are not responsible for your health. You are. And that's why we do this sort of stuff, because you need to understand, you need to be empowered, you need to educate. I always tell patients, I had a patient who came in, he was on 2 blood pressure medications. As we started adjusting his atlas, that it affected his nervous system and his blood pressure began to drop, right? And he was starting getting lightheaded because his blood pressure was dropping and he was on these medications. He went back to his doctor, and the doctor told him to stop eating fruits and vegetables.
Oh.
And his name was Jeff too, and I saw like, Jeff, what did you do? And he's like, I ran out of it. Right? I'm finding a different doctor. Like, that's what, if your doctor's not willing to help you be healthier, then you need to find a different doctor. What role is that person playing in your life then? Honestly, right? And they're out there. Like, we've got a pediatrician in not we as my family, my kids have never seen one, but there's one that I refer to that is awesome, right? And we need more of those I'd say medical doctors, that the goal is, and they're out there, but again, the sad thing is, there's very little money to be made and not on having you on a medication. Right? Routine office visits, medication kickbacks, etc. Okay? So here's the deal. Those are the numbers. That's what you need to be tested for. And I've never had a patient go to their doctor and have their doctor had any issue with that. So you want to know? Simple as that. Here's my recommendations. There's 2 different ways that you can go. You can do cod liver oil, or you can do direct vitamin D supplementation in the winter. Don't do it in the summer unless you're really deficient. You can get tested and see, but this is getting more for winter. Cod liver oil's got a lot of good stuff in it. There's some omega-3s in there. There's vitamin A in there, which is very good, but there's lower amounts of vitamin D. So what I do is actually, or you can just take direct vitamin D drops. Okay, we use a company called the Nate Choice. A chiropractor owns the company. Probably one of the most brilliant guys on the planet, and he's a stickler for quality. Everything is just 100% organic, done by the books is what you want. Sustainable, the whole deal. Great company. The supplement world is a little sketchy. You need to make sure that, like your fish oil, you need to make sure. So when a fish is exposed to heavy metals, which now our oceans are full of them, the heavy metals, if they can't get rid of them, they're going to sequester them. Where is heavy metals sequestered? What are they stored in? Fat, right? To keep it inert. Same thing with you guys, which is why losing all these diets that help you lose extreme weight, you're just dumping toxins and heavy metals into your bloodstream. But if that's not cleaned out of your fish oil, you're just getting a concentrated dose of heavy metals, right? So you just need to make sure it's like the Nate Choice their fish oil is molecularly distilled best oil. Okay? So you can I do both of these. So I take cod liver oil and I do vitamin D drops. Okay? That's what I do. Other areas of information, I would say that this is a super important topic, and for the more research that you can do, we've scratched the surface. I didn't even go into detail on a lot of stuff. This to me is fascinating because it's one thing. This is a huge bang for your buck when it comes to health. Is starting to get some sunshine and vitamin D. Most of you guys that I see here have just recently been to our Move to Live, been to our Sunshine Vitamin D, have been to our Eat to Live, which was a little bit different than normal, but you guys got a lot of the same points on that. We normally talk about the paleo diet, but those are 3 areas that, man, are super important. I would say the other one that we're going to do in the fall is that, it's called Death by Sugar. And we're going to talk about sugar, those 4 things, these 4 workshops alone, clearing your nerve systems, moving more, walking more, eating better, getting more sunshine. You're putting, you're watering sunlight and good soil for the seed, and it's going to bloom. There's no way around it. Questions?
So what did you say the squalene did?
So squalene is converted into cholesterol in the skin. So squalene is a precursor to cholesterol. Okay? Cholesterol drugs block the production of squalene to cholesterol. So when it's in the liver. So when cholesterol gets in your skin, when vitamin D hits it, that's what's converted into vitamin D3. So cholesterol is used to build hormones, and it's found in every cell membrane of your entire body. But cholesterol drugs they block that in the liver, the production, the conversion from squalene to cholesterol. And so you don't have as much cholesterol in your skin to even convert into vitamin D.
So while we were doing this, I looked at the ingredients in the sunscreen here, and squalene is one of the ingredients.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what it'd be in there for. I don't know enough. I don't know if that. I know that squalene is used in other things. I don't know if it's used as something.
Well, because that would convert more of the sun to vitamin D, right?
It's not cholesterol. That squalene to cholesterol happens in the liver. If you're rubbing it on your liver, it's probably in there for some other reason that is not related to that factor, but maybe it is. Who knows?
I just thought it was interesting that was one of the ingredients.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on squalene a while ago, and I'm interested in these biochemical pathways that all these drugs interrupt, and I do know that it's used in other things, like the body uses it, but we humans use it to make other things too. So we'll do some research on that. Any other questions?
So what would the AMA, if we had 8 doctors sitting here, what would they have thought about this?
Well, they probably would have said, no, that you need to really limit your sun exposure because it's going to cause skin cancer. And I would say, what actual research have you done? Right? Are we just saying what we are supposed to say? Why do a doctor could come to our cholesterol workshop and say, no, you need to have low cholesterol levels, and we would say, listen, what you are taught is not science, it's lobbying. Right? You can have the FDA sit through Dean's lecture and they would say, no, you're supposed to have grains. No, you're not. It's not science. It's not science. It's not science. So they could sit there and totally disagree with me, and I'm totally fine with that. We won't get into the vaccination topic, but they're not going to agree with me on vaccines, right? But the reality is that, and here's, I think, the big thing. You have to look at, medical doctors study disease and what makes people sick. Okay, that's like, if you want to be a millionaire, that's like going to a bum on the street and saying, what didn't you do? What did you do wrong? I'll try not to do the wrong stuff. Right? If you want to be healthy, you have to study what is required for health so that I'm 70, 80, 90, that's what I'm interested in. Right? I don't want you guys to just feel good now. I hope that what you're in chiropractic for, most of you have been, Beth, how long have you been a patient for?
It'll be 3 years this summer or 2?
2 years, yeah, 2 or 3 years. You guys, this is kind of a fairly newer crowd in here. But my first family are still patients. I've been patient for 9 years. Like that, the reason we're one of the busiest offices in the state is because we just have families in the state, and I don't think anyone in their right mind would stay doing anything just to feel better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to do the things to build health in the future. I get checked every single week. I check my kids every single week, not because I am hurting necessarily or because I have a headache or because I'm sick, but because I need to make sure that my cells on my body are functioning, healing, and adapting. Now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because I want to be 70, 80, 90 years old, enjoying my great-great-grandkids, golfing, doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. And we look at that now and think that that's abnormal. But that's not talk to you. Your doctor will never talk to you about that. Right? That's what the goal has to be. And then you have to look at an intervention and go, is that intervention actually helping me get to that point later on? Probably not. Totally changes the way that you look at health. It's a philosophy, it's a paradigm shift that has to happen. And when you go back to that, the third leading cause of death, right? And that's just medical errors. Think about how many deaths are caused by the right drug at the right time, but the wrong paradigm. Right? I'm going to give you a cholesterol medication to lower your cholesterol so that you look good on a sheet of paper. Meanwhile, all of the, one of the things that we, are starting to learn with cancer, the concern with cholesterol is that they're increased cancer. Why? Because largely it can affect cholesterol levels or vitamin D level production. Right? Many other things as well. But we don't, it's such a short-term thing. We go, I'm saving your life because I'm going to lower your cholesterol levels. The graveyards are full of people that still have heart disease that took their blood pressure meds and their cholesterol meds every single day. We got to be a little bit, this is Dr. James Chestnut, the guy who owns the name Choice. He has a quote, he says, our medical system is great at hitting targets, the bullseye of targets. They're just aiming at the wrong ones. Right? Yes, sir?
So I like to do a lot of golfing during the summer, you mentioned you do that too. So would you say to not put sunscreen on, and then when you're done, I'm not trying to get widespread, not put sunscreen on, and then when you're done after 4 hours of golfing, don't use soap to wash it off?
Right.
So that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying if you can do 4 hours, if you're going to go golfing from 10 to 2 and you haven't been out, I would say don't put sunscreen on, but cover up. Right? If you're going to go golfing, it depends. I'm saying the sun's not going to kill you if you use it correctly, and it's vital actually for your health to get enough sunshine and vitamin D. So it totally depends. Are you guys typically outside in the sun? Can your skin handle 4 hours out in the sun? If not, then I wouldn't do all 4 hours. I would bring and if you can't cover up and there's no other way to avoid burning, then you would use sunscreen. Sunscreen would be the last resort in all of these. Does that make sense? The problem with sunscreen is that if you're going to do that, how long do you want sunscreen sitting in your skin for? So guess what? You better go home and soap off. Sorry, you're just going to get rid of all that. You know, you need to get rid of the sunscreen, the chemicals that haven't already absorbed into your body, but the vitamin D is also not going to be absorbed into the body too. Right, so I would tell you to wear long sleeves or cover up a little bit so that you don't burn, but you get the benefits of what you just did. Or golf at 8 in the morning. I golfed on Sunday, we were up there at 7. We wouldn't even let us open because there was frost on the greens. It was cold. I've never golfed in that weather.
But doesn't Dr. McCullough sell an actual sunscreen that you can get?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is maybe look at safer sunscreens. Right, there's certainly some out there, zinc oxides, you can look at it and see.
You mentioned a shirt that your friend in Jamaica had. It was really pretty cool.
Yep.
They make in St. Louis Park, Cooler Bar. There's a company in St. Louis Park that makes UPF clothing, and it's a Cooler Bar, Coolibar,
Cool bar.
and it's all SPF, 50 or whatever.
Yeah, so there you go. And his was real light, like it was super thin shirt, this kind of material, so it's really like cool. So I wear this now so I don't sweat when I adjust it more. Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I was just gonna say, there's all kinds of clothes, so if you go to REI in Gander Mountain,
Right.
that are SPF. All my fishing shirts, I threw away all my short sleeve ones I used to wear long sleeve now.
Yep.
They've got the big collars, so you can turn them up. And
Yep. Big hat on. Yep. Anything else?
No.
Valuable?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good.